Hi everyone, so I am continuing with my little exploration of the tarot and the archetype cards today using Kim Kranz's Wild Unknown Archetypes deck. And if you don't have this, I'd highly recommend it. It's a really enlightening, fascinating and unique deck. So I am using the Pagan Otherworlds deck today. And I'm just going to give these a shuffle. Right. So today we have the King of Cups. Beautiful card. And for our archetypes deck, we have how interesting, the Maiden. So today we're interconnecting the King of Cups with the Maiden. What a fascinating combination and an unexpected one. Okay, let's see what Kim Kranz has to say about the Maiden. The Virgin, the Princess, the Innocent. The Maiden archetype is the epitome of innocent arousal, naive sensuality, and precarious purity. She is compelling and addictive because of her flawless and youthful glow. She's the first archetype in the trifecta of Maiden, Mother, Crone, and rightfully so, because she has oh so much to learn. The Maiden is perfectly positioned for trouble to come her way and subject her to a challenge that leads to the next phase of womanhood. She must grow up, yet hesitates at the threshold, enamoured by the charms of youth. The Maiden represents the side of us that is riveted and curious, drawn to shadowy forests, dark nights, and taking just one taste of poisonous fruit. Her magic is edgy and includes both shame and delight. Let yourself fall down the rabbit hole, young one. Moving from the Maiden to the Mother is challenging, often leaving unresolved tensions between the archetypes for years, if not a lifetime. Wow. I find this combination so fascinating because, in a way, the King of Cups and what he represents, and Maiden and what that represents, they are almost complete opposites, aren't they? The King of Cups, being the throne of the suit of cups, really represents emotional maturity. Somebody who has mastered their emotions. You can see in the background there's a sea and there's a ship riding the waves. And that represents really someone who still goes through emotional waves and still experiences a range of different feelings and emotions and thoughts, but is able to reside at the centre of that, on their own throne, and be the observer of themselves, not necessarily reacting to everything that comes their way, and not necessarily fully believing the truth of every feeling that they experience, but rather observing and learning about themselves through seeing themselves in the context of all of these emotions that are surrounding them. So the King of Cups really represents someone who is able to be in control, but isn't denying any of his feelings. He's not cut himself off from feeling, it's just that he's able to master those feelings and not be a slave to them, not be like a piece of debris on an ocean being tossed around, by his fear or anxiety or ecstasy or cravings, any of that. So he represents a kind of solidity, a kind of maturity, and the coming to the end of a journey, in a sense. A kind of fixedness, I suppose. And what is so interesting about the Maiden is that she really represents the total opposite of that. The very beginning of her journey into the world of sensuality and pleasure, and craving and emotion. She is at the very, very beginning of discovering herself. And often she will be thrown into situations where she's reacting to her feelings, where she's reacting to her emotions and following her desires quite naively, and putting herself in quite precarious or dangerous situations as a result of that. This archetype really connects with princesses, like, the Disney princesses, who always end up, well, not always, but often, at least in the more traditional stories, end up needing to be rescued by a knight. And you could never imagine a King of Cups being in that position. But I suppose what's really coming through here is the emphasis on that journey from this to this, and how it's so important to be able to observe that within yourself. Where are you on that continuum of that journey? And it's not a linear journey. It's, sometimes we feel more in control of our emotions on one day than we do another. And then the next day we fall back into craving or pleasure seeking. It's not a linear process. We often come back round to these two figures, over and over and over, and we're sort of swinging between them like a pendulum, trying to find our way and a balance. So that's what that really represents for me. I guess the word that really stands out is threshold. And how are you moving from one phase of your emotional maturity or immaturity to the next? And I suppose the question that I would want to put to that is, what level of awareness are you bringing to your emotions? What level of acceptance are you bringing to your emotions? What level of being the observer are you bringing to that? Because that's really what's going to determine where you are on that continuum between these two, on any given day, at any given moment. And you always have a choice to move from one to the other, and one is not necessarily worse than the other. It's just that they hold very different lessons, and I suppose a very different level and nature of wisdom resides in each of these cards. So yeah, I would recommend reflecting on your own level of emotional maturity, your own level of control. Next time you feel a wave of emotions coming over you, how able are you to step out of that and be an observer? How much wisdom are you bringing to that? Where are you going to step across the threshold and make a decision to begin a new stage of that emotional journey? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.